All right, you all, welcome back to the Badger Rock Kitchen for the next in our Native American Heritage Month workshop series. And we're super excited to be here with the one and only Dan Cornelius. Thank you, Dan, for being here. And let's just kick it off with if you could just introduce yourself, Dan, and who you are and what we're doing today.
Thank you. Dan Cornelius, I'm a member of Oneida Nation, and I'm going to be talking today about making corn mush. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some different types of corn, and then we're going to use some of our Tuscarora. People sometimes call it Oneida white corn, but it's a Tuscarora white corn. It's a flour corn. We're going to make a little bit of corn mush out of this ear right here. And in the process, going to talk a little bit about some of the tools that we use. But we're going to use actually brought in not my own. I did bring in some of my own syrup as well, but brought in some maple syrup. But yeah, we're gonna give you guys a little background today on how we cook our corn, because I think for a lot of people, if you just give them, give you this ear of corn, what do I do with this? And so, what we would do with this is, when I grew this at one of my fields this year, um, what we would do with this is we would eat this in one of several different ways. If we harvested it when it was green at the sweet corn stage, call that green corn. Um, if we let it go till it's dry, then we would get this, and we would do a couple of different things. We do the mush flour that we're going to do today. And what we're going to do is we're going to shell this off in a minute, and then we're going to roast it, and then grind it, and then we're going to simmer it in some water, kind of just like making oatmeal or polenta, except it tastes a little bit better. Or we could use this to make a hominy, and I do have some hominy here that I started, and this it was basically like a masa or uh, ganastoha is what we call it, is our cornbread. So, and if we have some time, I'll show that too. But these are the two main ways that we would cook the corn once it's dry like this: of the mush or the hulled corn hominy. And that hulled corn, we could rinse it and boil it and put it in soup or use it any way basically that we would use it in, or we can grind it, and that's what we would what we'd use to make our cornbread. Very similar to masa. But so this is the white corn, and the difference between a white corn and then this is just a little tiny ear of some Hekua, a calico, um, flint corn. This one I grew in a no-till. It's a smaller ear to begin with, but you can, if you look at this, it's kind of more of like translucent versus this one is solid. This is the difference. This is the flint, and so this is going to be a lot harder versus the flour corn is a lot softer. Now we could grind that flint corn in a mechanical grinder or mill. That'll grind down, but if we're going to be using a corn mortar, or Kaniga, Butagan, we're definitely going to want the flour corn. We're going to want something that's softer because it's going to be pretty hard to grind that if we are using a flint corn. I brought in. I grew and growing several different types of corn this year. Um, this is some of the other ones that I'm growing, but we got blue, and this blue's got some reds in it, but you can see just some of these ones here. I'm just in the process right now of finishing a big order for the Tribal Elder Food Box program through our Great Lakes Tribal Food Coalition, and so a big order of mush, and that's going to be blue corn mush. And this is another flour corn here, bent flour corn, but I got about 10, 12 acres of this growing this year. So once I get it harvested and get past these elder food box orders, going to be working on making a bunch more of mush and some hominy with this. There's another, so red lake corn right there, little ear that I brought in. But so you can see here of just some of the different types of corn. Now, of course, we're going to have popcorn is another type, but really for us, the two main types of corn that I grow are the flint corns and the flour corns. And then of course sweet corn is another type, and I know some folks that grow our Haudenosaunee black sweet corn, and they'll sometimes dry it all the way down, and they do the same process with that. But so our first step, we're going to take this ear here, and I'm going to just use my hands today, and the easy way actually break it, and that makes it a little bit easier to get it off. And it's pretty dry, so it comes off fairly well.
Do you save some of your corn for seed for next year?
Yep. So this white corn, I grew some of it in the bigger field, and so it's next to some of the red, so there's a little bit of cross pollination in that. And then at home, I grew just seed, and so yeah, all of everything I grow is all open pollinated, heirloom, and so you have to save the seeds. You're not gonna have any more seeds to be able to grow.
Yeah. For people who aren't familiar, do you want to explain what open pollinated and heirloom are? What that means for corn?
Yeah, open pollinated just means that that corn is growing in the field and it's all just cross pollinated. So you've got the tassels and the pollens fall off of the tassels onto the silks, and it all pollinates each other. Most of the corn that you see of the field corn is hybrid corn. So that hybrid corn is going to be two different plants that they cross, and get into the biology on it of what they call it heterosis, of when the two of them cross, and they're kind of little inbred, lines that are kind of small, and then when they cross, then they grow really big. And part of the reason why hybrid corns are, initially were popular is one of the reasons is it's easier than the seed companies can sell you new seed every year, but then you get that, get that vigor from the two of them coming together. Personally, I just grow all open pollinated, and so this in here, there's just a little tiny braid of our white corn. So around here, people will call this Tuscarora white corn, or call it Oneida white corn, because Oneidas were up by Green Bay, and so this is just associated with Oneida. But we call this Tuscarora white corn, and the reason why is when the Tuscaroras came and joined our Haudenosaunee Confederacy, early 1700s, the gift that they brought with them was this white corn. So pretty much every community within the Confederacy is going to be growing white corn, and you can see why. Just look at how big and nice this ear is right here, and so it's very flexible corn that you can, as I said, you can use it to make mush, you can use it to make hominy. Tastes really good, and it's just a really nice corn. So everybody, pretty much will grow that. Okay, so we got our little pan here, and our next step is we're gonna roast this. If I can figure out how to use this fancy
I know.
stove here.
Yep.
We'll let that heat up for a second. I think while I'm letting that heat up, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna rinse. I'm gonna rinse this one, and so this is the difference of, I was talking about roasting it, and this is just a regular shelled corn roasted, and this one I had cooked with a hardwood ash, and so what this hardwood ash is doing, and maybe we could do another workshop on this at some point. Um, it turned really bright, like sunset orange when it was cooking, and it's breaking down the outer hull on this corn, and it's converting the corn here of it is making it where it'll be kind of sticky, more of a sticky texture, and it gives it that flavor of like that tamale, type of a flavor. We call it nixtamalization. It's also adding vitamins. It's making niacin available for your body to absorb. So very, very healthy, and it's adding a bunch of calcium as well. So I'm just going to quickly use my basket here, and if it's all right, I'm just going to rinse this in the sink.
And so the wood ash, where do you get the wood ash? Do you make your own, or do you?
I heat my house with wood. So I just
There it is.
Yeah, it's only hardwood that I burn in there, and then of course no garbage or nothing like that, and so I just save all of that wood ash, and then I sift it, and sometimes even make a lye in advance. You can kind of soak it because it takes a little bit of time um, to get the pH right, and that's what's going on with this is this is a very alkaline solution. So you're like a pH of like 13 or higher. Let's get higher and lower. 13 to 14. Very, very alkaline, and that's what's making that chemical reaction happen. So I'm gonna bring this one up. Actually, I'll try this first to see what our that's pretty good. But I probably would boil this just a little bit longer, and maybe I cooked it just a touch longer in that. But it's actually about pretty much ready to go. Probably just could be cooked a tiny bit more. But yeah, with this generally we would we'd actually dry that, and then we would grind it, and then we would take that flour to make our cornbread. But I'm gonna try more of just a wet grind on it. So this we're gonna parch it. We're just gonna roast it till it starts to kind of turn a little bit more golden, and then I'm sorry for those of you who are watching virtually, you can't quite smell what this is gonna smell like, but it has like almost like a popcorn type of a smell, and it's gonna have that type of nice roasted flavor as well. And then, typically, most people will have this, and you have it for breakfast, and put some maple syrup, put some berries in, um, either fresh or frozen or dried berries. But you also can have it more as a savory dish as well. So, kind of like polenta. And it's interesting with polenta, because people associate polenta with Italy and Italian cuisine. And just looking at right here of what we've got going on this stovetop, when Columbus and all them, when they came over and they found this corn, imagine of what were they thinking of they came over, and and you see people growing, you know, growing something like, you know, like this, or you know, growing that. And there's a scholar in Jane Mount Pleasant, and um, she worked at Cornell University for a long time, of actually of Tuscarora descent, and she makes an argument that native farmers in what is now northeastern United States for us Hautestonis were 5 times more productive per acre back at the time of contact versus European farmers of that same era. And you know, her argument is that we didn't plow the soil, and so that soil fertility was extended. And you're not oxidizing, you're not losing your organic matter, you're not losing your nitrogen, because when you plow, you get a short-term release of nitrogen, but then you're also losing your organic matter. And so because we weren't, that's her argument. And you know, it's been influential for me to think about that, and how can we use that as an inspiration for our practices today. But the other thing, you know, as you think about, you know, what were the European farmers growing at that time? Would have been growing a lot of wheat. You got these little tiny wheat seeds that you got to go through, and they would have, you know, used a scythe and whatnot. Versus then you get at years like this, I would imagine they probably saw that, and you know, we want to grow some of that. And so they did. They took the seed over to Europe, and people, you know, did start growing it. I know farmers in Italy have started growing it, and you know, hey, this is pretty good stuff. We can really grow a lot of it. It's easier to harvest, and so that's where polenta comes from. Is you know is the corn growing over there. Now the thing that they didn't bring brought the seeds, but they didn't bring all of the knowledge on how to cook it. And so when you're just cooking like this, or just grinding it, yeah, it tastes pretty good, but you're not getting all of your nutrients and your vitamins that you would when you're cooking it with the lye, with the nixtamalization. And it is that niacin, lysine, as I said, the B vitamins, the calcium, but in particular that niacin. If you're not getting niacin in your diet, then you get something called pellagra, and then we're getting it from other sources. And so you know, people were getting sick because they didn't bring, you know, they brought the seeds, but not the knowledge of how to cook it. I think that's one of the really interesting things, that it's not just, you know, being able to grow the seeds, but it's all of that knowledge that goes along with it. This just a touch. My favorite, I like cooking on fire, but a little bit cold out today, a little bit windy. We got this nice kitchen here, but yeah, you know, this is nice to be able to roast it right, you know, right in the fire. Some other ways too that, you know, we can make parched corn and use a clay pot and stir it around in there, and it'll start to kind of pop and split, and then you can drizzle some maple syrup in there. It's like almost like the original kettle corn, little, you know, original clay pot corn. But so yeah, we're gonna just let this keep going a little bit till it starts to turn golden, and you can almost you can smell it, but then you can hear it start to kind of split and pop when it's ready. And then from there, we're going to put it into the corn mortar and work on grinding it. I'm going to grab here too. I've got another one that I've got. I think while we're waiting for that one to finish, I've got some blue corn here that I already had parched. So why don't we, as we're waiting, let's just go ahead and get started with a little bit of this. So these corn mortars are made out of yellow birch. We just did a workshop last month up at Ojunk and made a bunch of these as part of an event that we were doing. And these ones are kind of smaller. This one's even much smaller, and great for travel. And this one here is my personal favorite because it's got a nice deep bowl on it, so it's not having it pop out of there, but then it's small enough you can move around. So I know Ojibwe's, this would have been a pretty common. I'm hearing some crack.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it does smell good.
It smells really good.
Yep. Oh, yes, it does. Wow.
And you can see, so these are also almost all of our Haudenosaunee varieties are 8-row, and that means if you count around, there'll be 8 rows on there. So then they tend to have kind of bigger kernels, but yeah, you can see on this is. I know some of the corn from South America is even way bigger, but there's pretty big kernels on here. Keep going a little bit.
And how do you make these? They look like they're burned?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, traditionally, if they would have burned out the whole thing, most likely. These days, we use some modern technology. We are using chainsaws, and so, we're harvesting the tree with a chainsaw, and then using a gas-powered chainsaw to do dive cuts, and then switching over to an electric chainsaw to get it nice and smooth and hollow. And then we're putting coals in there, and we're burning it all out. And so when we're burning it out, we're doing a couple of different things. We're boiling the sap out of there to try to get it to avoid. There's a couple little cracks in here. I've had this one for almost 10 years. You get a couple little cracks, but it helps to boil out that sap, so you're not getting as much splitting. But it also is helping to season and harden the wood there. So that's a couple of reasons. I am this picture burning too much. Oh, I think we. And those are nice. That I'm gonna actually do a wet grind on that hominy over there. But you can use these for really all different types of things. I got some wild rice there. You can use it for grinding rice. I've had people using it for grinding, for nuts. These ones use them for herbs. But I think the cool thing too is that you see some, very similar tools to this across the whole world.
Yeah.
People have used mortars like this pretty much everywhere. And so yeah, this is yellow birch. For our Oneida, our Haudenosaunee, would have been a lot of elm that would have been used, and would have been really big ones. Some of them you could get multiple people around it, all grinding. But the yellow birch, and I've seen actually an Oneida one made out of yellow birch too. But part of the reason with yellow birch and elm is both of them are going to be a little bit more resistant to splitting and cracking. And the elm in particular, kind of the fibers in it really intertwine, and it's kind of hard to work it. You need to burn it, but really strong.
And you said you're making this for the Elder Food Box. Do you want to talk a little bit about that program and how many people
you
serve?
So our Elder Food Box program, we started our Elder Food Box program in 2021. We started with 3 tribes, and we had 4 tribal producers at the beginning of that program. By the beginning of the second year, we expanded it to all 11 federally recognized tribes in Wisconsin. We kept it going. We're just getting close to ending year 5, and we've got about over now 45 tribal producers in the program. So from 4 to 45.
Wow.
And we're doing 2,000 boxes twice a month. And they're going out to all the tribes in Wisconsin. Plus, we got Ho-Chunk is distributing to several different distribution sites, including here in Dejote, in the Madison area. We got urban distributions in Milwaukee as well. And a lot of tribal producers, but a lot of other small producers as well. So I think it's a great example of farm to community that really helps for growers and harvesters to be able to have a stable market that for food that's feeding our communities, and then huge in terms of helping with food security, access to traditional foods like this. We got wild rice, maple syrup, traditional meats all in it, and so yeah, it's been a really successful program. We've been able to get bipartisan support from the state of Wisconsin. The governor has put it in his budget a couple of years ago, and we made it. It's been in 2 now biennial state budgets, and legislature has supported it as well. So I think it's a really good example of how do we really support local and regional food systems and producers, and it's been a great one, kind of win all around.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting close here on this. I'm gonna find us another pot to use. And on this we could use a sieve and kind of maybe a little bit of bigger chunks in there, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just put it all into this pot here. And we just want to cook it a little bit longer if there's bigger chunks. But for the corn mush, as it tends to be a little bit coarser, like when I'm grinding it, even if I'm using a mechanical grinder, it'll keep it a little bit coarse, because coming out of a mortar like this is going to be coarse as opposed to a really fine grind. But if you do want to get it a finer grind, then you can use a sieve and help to sift it. And I do have a little scoop that I didn't bring with me today that makes it a little bit easier to get everything out of the bottom here. But
it's amazing how fine it can get just from pounding it, though.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, wow. And you can see it in the bottom there, pretty deep. And then I will do 3 parts water to 1 part corn in this, but I didn't exactly measure, so I'm going to be a little bit imprecise and eyeball it here today.
Yep.
We can always add a little bit more water if we need to. And then I like to whisk it when it's cold before heating it up, because then you can avoid getting clumps, and we'll probably need to add a little bit more water to that as we go.
Yeah, look how roasted those are.
Yeah, we want them. Just figuring out the stove here still. Okay, we'll let that go just a little bit more. And should we try some masa in the meantime? We'll try to. I want to show. So we've done both the dry grind, and then we're going to use this now to do a wet grind as well.
And wet grind just means you're grinding it when it's wet, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And so yeah, for our, the ganastolha, the cornbread, we'll kind of make them into little kind of like wheels, almost like kind of like a little mini wheel of cheese almost, and then those will get boiled, and then you can either eat them straight after they boil and mix some beans in as well, or you can kind of slice them, and then people like to saute it, maybe saute it in some butter, or be more traditional, you use some sunflower oil. So my farm is Yuela Farms. I'm south of Madison here, and I grow, as I said, a variety of different corns. I'm renting some land through Rooted at Anderson County Park, and I also have a field up by Cottage Grove where a 23-acre field and growing almost 20 acres of corn up there. So that was a pretty big expansion this year, and we haven't had enough corn at Oneida. Out of white corn this year. Luckily, the harvest is looking pretty decent right now, but it's we just need more corn. And then of course it's the processing, as you can see from this, the processing takes some time too. And with this one, you could have a chair, be sitting down and just kind of more leisurely, take your time, but we want to get this done. How are we looking there? I think we need to go a little bit more.
Well, Dan, how can people in the community support you? That's a lot you have going on.
Come and help to make some hominy. We're going to do a distribution of dried hominy and elder food box, and for the last regular box of the year in December. So as soon as I get this current mush order done, then we're going to be starting up with that, processing at the feed kitchen. Okay, let's see how well this sticks together. I think it still needs to grind a little bit more, but let's see if we can get it to hold together. And you can see this, by the way, this is that, ooh, hear a nice little pop.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
Yeah, ooh, that tastes good.
So y'all stay tuned, and we will put a post on our social media when Dan's ready for some help, and don't hold back. He has a lot of corn to process.
Okay, so yeah, there's some, I would definitely grind that a bit more, but let's see if we can get it to stick together. And again, typically we would more of dry this and then grind it for making the cornbread. I think it's going to need to get ground a little bit more, and maybe even add a little bit of water, but you can definitely start to feel that stickiness on there. So that's, and you can, with the taste as well, you really have that nixtamalized flavor. But maybe we could do another workshop in the future and do that full process from beginning to end.
Yeah, I think.
But I wanted to show here today just the main differences of how we cook and use the corn. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna see how we're doing on our mush over here. Looks like we're getting some simmering. Dial that up just a touch, and that'll be ready to go. And in just a minute, this does taste really
good.
It does taste really good. Yeah.
And yeah, we can pop a link into the workshop Dan did with us last year on corn braiding too, so you can see that process as well.
And this also could be just boiled a little bit more, and you can eat it as mush too. You know, grits, harmonized grits, I call it. If you're nixtamalizing, this is almost going to be ready. I'm going to just let it simmer just a little bit more, and then what do you think? Should we use my syrup? Might as well.
I mean, depends on how precious it is to you. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I tapped trees out at my place too, and this was $322.25. This was this year's silver maple.
The silver maples were so productive last year.
I smell that one.
Oh yeah, yum.
Yeah, it the season up north was even longer, but we had some nice runs here. Add
Do
a
you
little bit
make
of syrup in.
maple sugar also?
Yep.
Do you usually stick with syrup?
Yep. Definitely make quite a bit of maple sugar. Got a sugar trough that I use for making sugar. I'm gonna let that just simmer just a little bit more. And in the meantime, let's try to see if we can find a bowl here.
If you look right behind you in that little, yep, those bowls.
Okay, here is our corn mush, and ideally we'd throw some nice little berries on top of there to give it some nice color and a little bit more flavor, but see if we can find a couple of spoons. All right, Sarah, give us a taste test here.
Okay. See if I can do it. See it.
It'll be a little bit hot.
Oh, yum. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Yum, yum. Oh,
Yeah.
I wish y'all were here to taste this. This is really good.
Well, I'm gonna try to get some of this done for the holidays if people are looking for either gifts or for your holiday meals. I just first got to get our Elder Food Box orders done. But yeah, this is the blue corn mush, and the white is very similar. It'll just have a little bit of a lighter color, but each of the corns definitely tastes different. And I think that's one of the fun things too, is just to see that flavor difference. But yeah, thank you for joining today, and hopefully learned a little bit of what do you do and how do you cook something like this.
Thanks so much, Dan. This is just so great to have you here and sharing with us in all that you do, not only in our community, but beyond also.
And this is the blue corn that I'm just harvesting right now.
Wow, it's so beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Dan, and y'all stay tuned, and we will let y'all know when Dan needs a hand, and also if he has some corn mush to share with the wider community.
Yep.
All right, thanks y'all for tuning
you.
in. See you next time.